Welcome to another edition of WCW 1998, How I Would Book It. We are live once again for the go-home show of Monday Nitro as we approach uncensored, live on pay-per-view this Sunday. But to start tonight's broadcast, we kick it off with a highlight package of Sting and Hulk Hogan, highlighting not only the history from all of 1997, the fall of 1996 rather, but also that it finishes with that little face-off we saw last week on Nitro following the Fatal 4-Way match between Hollywood Hogan, Diamond Dallas Page, Kevin Nash, and Ric Flair to determine who is the #1 contender for the WCW World Heavyweight title at Uncensored. But that's how we kick it off. And now we move right to the broadcast position with Tony Schiavone, Mike Today, and Bobby the Brain Heenan as they talk about the upcoming monumental rematch from Starrcade 1997 between Hollywood Hogan and Sting once again for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. But the only difference is, Tony mentions that the only difference is that this time everybody is banned from ringside. So we will have a clear-cut winner, and that decree was passed down by the new president of the championship committee, Tully Blanchard. Now we move into our first match of the night with the Steiner brothers up against the Flock, and in particular the Flock members Kidman and Riggs. And going into their match this Sunday on pay-per-view against Harlem Heat, the Steiners quickly send the Flock packing. And now we move to the next segment on the show, which is Ric Flair in the ring calling out the man who cost him the world title shot, the #1 contendership Fatal 4-Way last week in Sid Vicious. However, Flair does not get Sid. He gets the unexpected. He gets Double A on Anderson, who comes out and tells Rick. First, he explains to Rick that he's been on the shelf because of his injuries that he sustained when he was assaulted 2 months ago by the man we now know is Sid. And he tells Rick to watch his back because he's heard that Sid is working, not only has a partner, but is working with someone in WCW. And Double A says, I may not be as good as I used to be. I may not be as strong as I used to be. But Rick, I've had your back for the last 15 years, and nothing will change now. I'm right behind you. Then he shakes Rick's hand, and the two best friends embrace. And now we move to the next match, and it's for the first time in quite a while. Randy Savage is in the ring on Nitro this week against Prince Iaukea. The reason for this match is because I want to bring Randy back slow and not just thrust him right back in against people like DDP or Kevin Nash. But now Randy calls out the president of the championship committee, Tully Blanchard. Ignore that. What Randy says here is, yes, it's Randy Savage. Yes, I always give him a shoot. And yes, you're probably questioning why I would give Randy a shoot if he's doing crap. like this segment was rated, but it's not Randy, believe you me, it's not Randy, it is Tully Blanchard. He is the one to blame for this segment because his skills are not what they used to be due to getting older and depreciation. But fact of the matter is, that's beside the point. The point is, Randy would talk about Hollywood Hulk Hogan. And the fact that he doesn't believe Hulk Hogan deserves a WCW World Heavyweight title shot again against Sting because he never beat fair and square in the middle of the ring. He never defeated the Macho Man. And therefore, Macho Man believes he deserves the world title shot before Hollywood Hogan. And Tully Blanchard just tells Mach that he's going to take it under advisement, and it may factor into his decision. But he did have an announcement to make. And that announcement is this. He says, Macho Man, you bring up a good point. In the past, we have seen very few main event matches on pay-per-view have a clear-cut winner. Therefore, at Uncensored this Sunday night, there will be a special guest referee for the WCW World Heavyweight title match against Sting and Hollywood Hulk Hogan. And the Macho Man will be the special referee. And here's where he actually mentions it. The change in referee. The change in the referee. Now we move to Harlem Heat's tune-up match before the pay-per-view, and they have a little harder match than Steiner Brothers did, but they are still going up against a formerly credible tag team, or a future credible tag team, in Disco Inferno and Alex Wright. Sorry. For those who might not know, Disco Inferno and Alex Wright, I can't remember if they have already been a tag team or in the future become a tag team. But either way, eventually they were or had been or will be a tag team, and these two are a little higher up on the card, usually featured a little higher up on the card than Kidman and Riggs are, so it's a little harder of a match for the challengers than the champions had. But following the match, the Steiner Brothers, basically a similar angle that we had with Sting, but instead of just Sting and instead of Sting, Hogan, and wrestlers getting in between them, and Sting and Hogan having a face-off and wrestlers getting in between them, it's just the Steiner Brothers and Booker T, and Harlem Heat. Of course, the managers are there, DiBiase and Jacqueline, but it's just the tag teams to spotlight the tag teams. Backstage, following a commercial break and following that segment, oh, scratch that, no, DiBiase wasn't there. Jacqueline was, but DiBiase wasn't. DiBiase was backstage. And the extent of the angle was basically the Steiner Brothers holding up the titles and facing off with Harlem Heat. Now we go backstage with where we find Ted DiBiase talking on his cell phone to someone. We can't hear who it is, who that someone is. It is a mystery, but it sounds intriguing. So DiBiase is hiding something. Now we go to the streak match for this week's edition of Nitro, and it's Goldberg against Rick Martel. And Goldberg quickly disparages the veteran Martel. And then we move backstage where no word is exchanged. Just a look. Scott Steiner's backstage, and he walks up on Vincent, NWO member, talking on his phone. Scratch that. It's vice versa. Vincent walks up on Steiner. Steiner is talking on his phone. Steiner gets off the phone and encounters Vincent, and all Vincent does is gives Steiner a business card, or what looks to be a business card, and Steiner puts it in his pocket, or is looking at it until the camera goes off. Now we go to the next segment, which is DDP coming to the ring and issuing an open challenge to anybody backstage, and it is accepted by the man of 1,000 holds, Dean Malenko, and Diamond Dallas also stated that he would put his United States title on the line to get a challenger. And DDP is victorious against the man of 1,000 holds in a very good impromptu match. So good, in fact, DDP walks over to Dean Malenko and offers him a handshake as a sign of respect, and the two competitors shake hands after a very good impromptu contest. Now we move to the next match, which is Kevin Nash versus Lex Luger, and Kevin Nash is victorious against the Total Package after a distraction from Buff Bagwell. Now, you might think that Kevin Nash severed ties with the NWO, so why is Buff Bagwell coming out to help him? You forget, Lex Luger and Buff Bagwell over the last couple weeks have had their issues, and Buff Bagwell is acting as the coward because Lex Luger would call him out, but nothing would happen, and Buff Bagwell would be nowhere to be found. But now when Luger least expected, when Luger has his back turned, there's Buff Bagwell. I think this actually might have been the main event, I'm not sure. And here's the proof. Lex Luger's being attacked in the middle of the ring by Buff Bagwell and Scott Norton, who Norton was on the stage. The camera didn't catch it, but Norton was on the stage. Buff and Norton came out during the match in secret. They didn't use the stage. They came out to the side of the stage and hid. But now Norton comes out, Buff comes back in and attacks Lex Luger. Seeing the assault, Kevin Nash comes back and fights them both off, saving Luger from a serious beating. Now the intrigue is, what does this mean for Luger and Kevin's relationship, as Kevin just defended Luger against NWO members? If Kevin wasn't ostracized from the NWO before, or out of the NWO before, he definitely is now. Diamond Dallas Page is interviewed by Gene Okerlund about Raven. Well, apparently, in an interview with WCW.com, Raven badmouthed not Diamond Dallas Page. He didn't badmouth Page. He badmouthed Kimberly, and Page took offense to Raven doing that. And now, though it says he's interviewed by Gene Okerlund, think of this as more of him calling out Raven to face him like a man, to get fit to be face to face, and him just repeating, "Raven, you crossed the line. You crossed the line when you brought my wife into this. You're gonna regret it. I promise you that." And now we move to the next segment, which is the contract signing between Sting, Hollywood Hogan, and it of course involves the president of the championship committee, Tully Blanchard. And now, much like the ending of last week's show, Sting and Hollywood heated confrontation right in the... Just imagine this. Hard camera zooms in. Sting on Sting's face. Zooms in on Hollywood's face. They pull back. And all you see standing in the ring is Sting and Hogan with the WCW World Heavyweight title on the table in between them. And that, my friend, is how this show ends this week, as we draw one step closer to another big event for WCW. And that big event is WCW Uncensored this Sunday night, live on pay-per-view. Fact of the matter is, guys, we took a step back this week, but, you know, if issues arise, there's a possibility that the future could be in question once again for this edition of the How I Would Book It. But for right now, September, Fall Brawl is where we finish, and Fall Brawl is where we're gonna go. But first, we gotta get to Uncensored this Sunday night, live on pay-per-view. Remember, if you let me know what you thought of the show, this episode of Nitro, down in the comment section below. If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more unique content just like this that you can only find right here on Wrestling Express. Till next time.